So, dann muten wir uns mal.
Let me tell you why you're here. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about? The Matrix. Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window, or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain. Let me tell you why you're here.
Okay, fine. Hello, everybody.
Okay.
I think so.
Are you ready, Steve? Okay. Welcome to SequencerTalk 62. Here's
Hello.
Steve from 1010Music. There's a new product coming. And yeah, we are here on our new channel, which is normally in German, so don't be afraid. It's just because Steve can.
I was going to
understand
ask that
our
everyone
Schäferhund.
comment in English.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
this would be good.
So
There we go.
there's a lot of questions via the chat
Yeah,
sooner or later, so you can
little
post
explanation
everything.
before we start.
Yeah.
Mick is also directly in. My name is Dean, the Moogulator. You heard him speak. Steve is from 1010Music, and we are the SequencerTalk. Hello, everybody. Please leave comments in the live chat, and if you like, you can visit our forum. That's the Sequencer.de forum. That's a German synth forum, and we both do this talk for over a year now, and this is an independent channel, so if you like, you can leave a few bucks here under our support link, and yeah,
I would take a
let's
few
start.
too.
Yeah, let's start with us, with you. There's a lot of things going on. You did the other box, which is called the black box, and Dean was really eager about telling us about it.
Don't forget about the Bitbox. We make a lot of
Yes.
boxes.
Many boxes.
Which is a sampler, and there's a new thing called the blue box, which is blue. So
I will say that's one of my most favorite aspects about the Bluebox. So.
It's
a little bit like a TARDIS. It's
Yeah.
bigger from the inside than it's from the outside.
Yeah.
here's how it looks like, and basically it's a mixer, right?
Yeah, it's a mixer. It's a digital recorder. We tried to, we wanted to bring together or make a way, I guess, so that people who use, either Eurorack or line level or a combination of the two. That's where I fit into this. But something that was small and portable, that would allow us to bring all of those things together and mix them. That was kind of the primary function. And I would go on a limb here and say that we listened to our users pretty intently in terms of our forum, and a lot of people are asking for a way to create stems from their projects. And so I think the Bluebox did a great job of sort of bringing both of those things together. It does a great job mixing. It sounds good. The effects in it are really nice. It's a brand new reverb that we had custom written for the Bluebox, and it's I'm still I'm still learning to use it and love it. There's a lot to it. There's a lot there.
Can we do a short rundown? It has 12 stereo inputs, which
Yes.
are over here.
Yep.
They are
Mini
the
jacks.
small mini jacks, like a Eurorack.
That is correct.
And there is, of course, multiple outputs, which is this is not two outputs makes stereo output. It's three outputs, one for the phones and another two for main output and two that are assignable, right?
True. And, we have to call them something, but it really is truly just three outputs. Yeah.
Okay. It's
yeah.
3 times 2 channels, so
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
all stereo, and the inputs are also
Stereo.
Stereo.
correct.
Important to know. And there's one question everyone has.
I already know it's coming.
Yeah, I'm sure you know about it. There's a USB connection over here.
Yes.
And everyone asking for what it is for, except powering the unit. And there's, of course, next to it a device connection. So could it be an audio interface sooner or later, or is it impossible to do?
So I will preface this answer with a statement that our founder, Aaron, often reminds us all of, which is buy a piece of gear for what it does today, not for what it could do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, we do still listen to our users and we want to make them happy. And this is something that a lot of people have asked for even before seeing it.
It's really small in size, so you can. It's really portable. And
The thing is it any possible to do this with this device? Because maybe it would be completely not capable of because of the internals.
I think
it's tricky.
yeah.
Okay, it's not fair, but
that's okay. I'm here to answer some not fair questions, so that's okay. I think that something that we typically remind ourselves of is that almost anything is possible.
Okay.
You can do almost anything. It's a question of it's always for us. We're a small company. We're only 3 people primarily, and then we have a constellation of folks that help us in one way or another. But we're only 3 people, and so we don't have the teams of people to work on each product like some of the larger manufacturers do. And so we have to sort of be careful about how we prioritize and, also, taking into account, like, what was our original vision? What do our users really want? What's reasonable to make happen? What can the box handle? I don't think that it's impossible to do it. I think that it wasn't, it's not in our original launch plan. I know that other mixers on the market can do that with some trade-offs in functionality. And so, we're always looking at it. Let me say this to everyone. It's not a hard no. So it's a hard maybe. If Aaron is watching this, I'm sorry I just said that, but
it's okay.
That's how most requests are. I think it's a hard maybe.
Yeah. Okay. It's okay. Let's put it that way.
But that USB B jack is at the moment it's only for power, but the device jack or the other one is going to accept MIDI controllers, and so you'll be able to control all the parameters and aspects from external gear, computers, DAW, whatever.
That would be another question. Controlling what parameters via MIDI CCs
could
or
be
something.
possible.
I mean, I think I'll just be honest. I haven't seen the actual plan or the layout, but my guess is that we're going to try to allow as much as possible to be controlled.
So right now, is there any controllable parameter right now, or will it be something up to an update?
So we are currently right now we're only utilizing MIDI for sync.
Okay.
But we have always had the plan to add this MIDI control, the CC functionality. We think it's pretty important.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's an interesting thing that I think a lot of people may be interested in anyway, in terms of how a product comes to life, how the product gets there, you know. And of course, it always starts with this like idea, right? Like, wow, what if I made this thing? And then you start tinkering with it and you start solving problems. And then you get down the road to the point where you announce your baby to the world and you say, hey, look at this great thing, it's coming. And then in some ways, that's where the work begins for us, because we have shown it to the world, and now we must sort of live up to the expectations of what we're promising. And so all of that is to say that we're working on it. We're actively working.
One of the
on
parts that 1010Music is a really small company. It's not like I said Native Instruments or something. So there are 2 developers or something, and then
How many are you?
There's 3 of us.
3.
Yeah.
So
3 developers.
Just to keep you all in mind, keep it in mind.
We're all not necessarily developing. You know, my role in the company is I am the doer of many things. I have some interesting job titles, customer happiness enforcer, you know, things like that. But really, I am Steve J. Neural.
Can you? There's one question. I just
yes, the
put
answer
everything
yes.
in. What's
The MIDI clock over USB is
yeah,
totally,
that's maybe also
totally doable. Because
that's where we're at right now with it. That's what's working.
okay. So it's
something
different
I could
from
demonstrate with the black box pretty well, because the sequencer does the same thing.
Yeah.
maybe we have to get the picture. Like this is where you come from. These are the modules.
Yeah.
Made previously, maybe everyone knows, but I like to just introduce them.
That would be great. So
and there's a second or another version of the Bitbox,
yes,
which is a sampler. Would you like to tell us a bit?
I would be happy to do this.
So
the toolbox and the Bitbox were kind of the first real, as I understand our history, it's kind of our first 2 modules. So the one to the right there, the toolbox, and then underneath there. So
I've had them here for reviewing, so I am aware, but I have not seen or tested the Mark II, which is more voices, right?
It's interesting processor. Because we tend, so all of our devices, our modules have computers in them, right? And when you think of computers, you think, I'm going to get a few good years out of it, and then it's just going to be no good anymore, and then I'm going to have to move on. And I have not really found that to be the case with our modules at all. If you look at the Bitbox Mark I, which I think is coming into its 5th year, if I'm not mistaken, it could be, but I think that it's somewhere down there. Oh, actually, I think we've discontinued it.
I think this is Mark. You don't sell the Mark II and the Mark I.
The Mark I is a special module, you know, and it has, if you just look at 1010 hashtags, you know, for a few minutes on Instagram, for instance, you'll see that the Bitbox Mark I is still really widely used by a lot of people. I was fortunate enough at NAMM, back when we all were allowed in the same room together, I stood in a really tiny room in the Korg booth, and I watched Richard Devine and BT do some really amazing stuff with the Korg gear. But the point is that when you look at Richard's case, right, he's got 2 Bitboxes, and people are still using them. And we've updated the software. We've had granular processing. The Bitbox Mark II then is sort of like the next generation. We added the effects, the same physical form factor, but we've added effects. much more powerful processor. So we're able to offer a greater amount of polyphony. I think you can push that box a lot further. And the one unique thing about the Bitbox, the Mark I and the Mark II, is that it's not really just one module. When it ships, if you buy what you're looking at on the screen, you get what you're looking at, and you get firmware loaded to make it a Bitbox. And you can do multi-sampling, and it's just, there's a lot of stuff that you can do just with the Bitbox. But you can also download for free on our forum cross-grade firmware that you can put to make it an FX box or to make it a synth box. And the synth box offers a 4-voice wavetable synth there on the left. And then to its right, its brother, the FX box. And the only difference, other than the firmware, is the faceplate. You can buy faceplates from us too.
That's so you could easily switch
Swap
to the
the-
other functionality,
Yeah.
but just with these 3. Not, you can't upload
The Wave Razor doesn't work.
to.
So the Wave Razor is
Yeah.
still built on that Series 1 Bitbox Mark I hardware, but the bootloader is a little different. So you can't just put a different firmware in it, but it's the same hardware. You know, the Series 1 hardware supported all the Bitbox FX synth box, the Wave Razor, and I could talk about the Wave Razor all day long. The Wave Razor
We talked
is,
about this yesterday, yeah.
you know, let me just officially say that directly after all of our own 1010 modules, you know, to be correct here, the Wave Razor is my favorite module I've ever touched. It is special, and I'm sort of on this mission to talk about it more, get people to own one, because it's really interesting.
Can you tell us the story behind the Wave Razor and 1010Music, because it's a licensed product mainly?
Yes. So I can give you my version, which is probably full of holes, because I've only been with 1010 for about a year. But my understanding is that the folks at Media Overkill are and have been really good friends and colleagues, work together with 1010. And they had this idea, they had this VST, and they wanted to port it to hardware. And so we sort of worked with them a little bit to help make that happen. But the Wave Razor itself is the science behind what the Wave Razor does is really, it's pretty fascinating. If you want one of the more intense paragraphs you'll ever read the first paragraph in the manual. Just read the first page, kind of where it says, hey, what does this thing do? And you'll be blown away. You'll need to have one. You'll need to understand more about it. You'll need to use one. It's
maybe I have a little advice, because there is a nice video out there made by CatSynth TV, which is quite into depth about this module. It's quite there's a lot of folding modulation going on, and you can even draw a cats on it. I've seen that. Yeah, this is the main.
When you look,
thing.
what you're looking at right there is one of the oscillator waveforms, and the great thing about the Wave Razor, right, the Razor being sort of like that important term, is that you can take, if you think of a single cycle waveform, for instance, a sine wave, right? We all know what that looks like. Instead of it only being a 2 section wave, so you have compression, you have rarefaction, it makes the wave. You could have a wave segment that's made up of 6 different segments, and the first segment can be a triangle, and the second segment can be a sawtooth, and you can adjust the duty cycle of each one of those segments, and you can put triangles on the end, on the back end, and you can move how those waves crossfade between each other. So it's really deep. It's really deep.
Okay, but it's not just crossfading waveforms.
That's right. It works on the concept. They compare it to the concept of persistence of vision.
I think it's 8 segments that can be modulated and shaped.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of things going on. So it
could be up to 8. Yeah.
You can talk nerdy to everyone here. So,
and then all of those patch points on the front one of the things I really like about the UI of the Wave Razor is if you get in close to, let's say, the two knobs on the left, and you see those two on-screen controls, right between those is a little square matrix, which is a replication of the matrix on the modulation matrix on the front. So it shows you really easily to see kind of where to plug things in to modulate these two parameters. So
Okay.
I like that about it. I think it's really well done.
I could do this. So here's something you can
Yeah.
tell, and there's you can
very
see,
spacey.
see everything. It looks great, quite great. This is of course the software version, but it does basically the same. It's the oscillator section of it.
So what's even better about this Wave Razor is that MOK just released an editor for the Wave Razor, so that you can build your patches on your computer and you can see what you're doing and lay everything out, and then you can just save that to your micro SD card, insert it into the Wave Razor, and off you go.
Mick, can you play some samples of
Dual
this?
selection.
This is just more talking, I think. I don't. There is sound, but there's a real much better video up there than that. This is just what I found.
Yeah, the cat synth one I think is in that lower,
and
is down there on the bottom right.
Yeah, maybe there's something I can find.
Up there.
Yeah, right.
The first one in the right corner.
This one.
Yes. Okay, we're looking now YouTube videos on YouTube live stream.
Hey everybody, Cats TV, and we are exploring the new wave.
So here you can have a look at
It already has
that
more
shaping.
complexity. We can change one of the other segments, and we can change.
Here,
You can adjust phase and yeah.
Yeah, go on. You're the one who should talk now.
Itself.
No, she's doing a good job here. So you pick a slice, you decide what type of wave you want, and the right menu is how that wave is applied. And then you have these crosshairs. If you look at the bottom right, you see phase is selected, and so that's what she's adjusting right now. But in the lower left corner of that little display was a button for volume and pitch. So you can adjust the pitch and the volume independently of each one of the slices.
Okay, here you can see the
Use
little
the shape continuous
blue boxes.
controller to change the wave shape from over 100 different varieties to affect each of the
This
segments.
is the modulation within that segment.
And you know, the other thing that's
Each
really
oscillator
interesting
has
about the
two
Wave Razor
pages of
is that
live
it can also be used as an effects unit. You can run live audio through it and do all of this slicing in real time.
Okay.
By sending
Something
in
I did not know.
an audio signal and then manipulate everything. And okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty deep. And then you get on the right there, it's hard to see, but you get a separate output for the two oscillators so that you can mix them separately. You get a mix output, but you also get a trigger output. So, you know, based on where you are in a wave or whatever, you can have the module send a trigger to something else or back to itself, I guess. The left side is CV and or audio input, and then MIDI and clock.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Hard to see, but yeah.
I don't think it's better when I cannot really make it much bigger.
And then that grid is just the modulation. And if you look where you're at right now, see on the right there, between those two parameters, you've got a little square that shows two smaller lit up squares. Yeah, right there. And so that is the mapping for the actual physical modulation input. So if you wanted to modulate that bottom right parameter, you'd plug something CV signal into that corresponding grid on the front, which is the lower left. So it kind of shows you how things are grouped, so you can pretty quickly get to them.
Here's the cat. This one is the cat.
Yeah, nice.
So maybe how does a cat sound like? This is quite rectangular sounding, and then you can modulate all these parts separately, I
We
think,
didn't
yeah?
need to go to the info page yet, but we will do that soon.
Okay, there's
So
one
somebody
question.
has asked
Yeah.
a question about, is there any limitation relating the micro SD card slots? And so on the old, well, let me just say on all of the stuff that we sell now, no. I have cards that range from 8 gigs all the way up to a terabyte. I have a 400 and a 512 that I regularly use for certain things in our modules. So no,
Okay.
we have a handful of members. I have one member in our forum I can think of who uses 1 terabyte cards pretty much all the time with no trouble. That's a lot of space.
I have an archive force here with an 1 terabyte SSD. Okay, but sticking 1 terabyte in one module sounds a little bit okay.
Well, the person I'm thinking of does a lot of field recordings, and so he has this
okay, maybe.
a power pack that he says will power the black box for 24 straight hours, and he can plug microphones into it. He uses a terabyte, so he can go out and just capture everything. That would be the only time I could imagine using a card. You know, for me, truthfully, I use 64 gig cards. That's my primary card. I don't see that
That's
I need
what
that.
I use too. So pack a few samples and stuff and.
Yep.
Okay. Should we talk a little bit more about the modules or going back to the Bluebox?
Well, let's talk about the modules, and then we'll be done with those and go back to the Bluebox. Maybe I can set something up to show or play here. So the modules, the current module, the current modules currently, right? The Bitbox, we have the Mark II, which is the sort of Mark II version of the Bitbox Mark I, of course. We have the Micro. The Micro, actually, of all the Bitboxes, the Micro is the one that I personally use in my rack the most. Size is a big thing. You give up a little bit of input output compared to the other modules, but that Micro is incredibly powerful.
Okay.
Also, you know, I'd just address something that we've had an issue with the Micro, just so that that everyone listening can hear it directly from us.
Can you explain the direct difference in the power of those two modules compared? Is there any?
They have the same processor.
So it's basically the same, but the size to fit in to your rack.
Just a little bit smaller, 18 instead of 26, 2 knobs instead of 4. We give you the 4 physical buttons, tactile buttons up on top, since the screen is a little bit smaller. There's still, you know, we use MIDI in and out on this module. The Mark II, unfortunately, does not have a MIDI out. And so one of the bigger differences between these two, and it's something that I get asked a lot, and it's in reference to multi-sampling. And so the Bitbox Micro can multi-sample a CV and gate, a true analog synth, or it can multi-sample a MIDI synth, because it does have a MIDI output. The Mark II, on the other hand, does not have a MIDI output. So you can create multi-sample sets from gate and plus CV, but you can't create from a MIDI synth, if that makes sense. And just one of the little things, things about the Mark II. Largely, it was built on the same form factor, but just with new insides, CPU, new electronics. So the Mark II, what I've had success making multi-sample sets from the Mark II using a simple CV to MIDI controller or gate,
This is something the sequencer module does not have a MIDI in a MIDI out. That's the same module.
No, the sequencer actually has 4 MIDI outputs and 1 MIDI input. So the tool,
that's something we have to talk about.
yep. The toolbox is definitely built on an older hardware group, and so it has 4 MIDI outputs. It has 1 MIDI input, but the toolbox and the Bitbox Mark II are not, even though they look incredibly similar, they're not necessarily the same inside.
What kind of processors are you using? So this is a nerd talk, so you have to.
It is. And I will admit that I had to double check this yesterday because I knew that you were going to ask this. I knew that someone would ask this. I was afraid
Okay.
of it. So we use a dual 480 megahertz ARM processor. It's an H7.
It's an ARM.
with that,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
it's all of our, and then also just to kind of piggyback on that with the Bluebox, it's the same, but the Bluebox and all of our modules feature 24/48 audio in and out. And currently the best spec that I can give you on the Bluebox, because I know someone's going to ask, is the latency from input to output is about 2 milliseconds.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
So
that's pretty.
there's a couple questions over here.
Yeah. Let's start from the.
You want to start at the
most recent
bottom?
one. Yeah.
Okay. So this guy's
yeah.
a troublemaker. He's on our forum.
Okay.
And we like Jay. See, is there a plan to switch the firmware on the Bitbox Mark II? I'm not in what way, I would ask, because you can switch the Mark II to a FX box or a synth box. We just released the FX box port for Mark II maybe a week ago. It's really recently. Going up from there, let's see. The choice of emitting the MIDI out, I'm assuming you're asking about that Mark II. I'm not sure I can totally answer that in the detail that you're looking for, but I do know that the Mark I and the Mark II are built on very similar architecture, and
I think that the processor is just stronger than
it sure
its
is.
predecessor.
It sure
Right?
is.
Yeah. So some functions may work and others don't because, or it's just less voices,
Yeah.
or is it something else?
So Synth Anatomy asked some questions that I think is fair to address. So it's obviously it's known, right, that we have experienced a few issues with the Bitbox Micro, at least with the first run of Bitbox Micros. And, to put it in a nutshell, we control the screen brightness using PWM, pulse wave, right? And so
we all know.
yeah, right. And so we had identified after we got our first batch, and we identified a few components that were causing some screen flickering, would sometimes cause the screen not to light up. And we have addressed this in a couple of ways. The first way, of course, is that we have taken every single unit back and fixed it on our own dime, as we should. It's only fair and reasonable. But we've made those changes, the hardware changes in the manufacturing. And I'm pretty sure that micros went live on our website yesterday. We just got restocked. And all of this new batch that we have has these new components in it. We're about to push out, if he hasn't already, another firmware, a very slight upgrade for the micro to help with this screen brightness issue. And I think that I'm going to say this, I'm going to regret saying this, but I think we might have found it. Now that I've said that, that's going to come back and haunt me. But I think we found it, and I think that we have addressed it, but only time will really tell.
Okay.
Fine.
There's
fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's been really frustrating for us. And, from all of us to everyone who has purchased a micro and dealt with this, we are incredibly sorry and incredibly grateful for your patience. And it's like pushing your baby out into the world and then it comes back.
That's something we can talk a little bit now.
Yeah, let's.
It's not
yeah.
easy to handle this as a small company, and I already said, you're not Native Instruments or Ableton or someone like that. So it's a hard time to push something out that's not completely finished in all kinds and ways, and people sometimes acting a little bit harsh. We see this all over the place. We talk lot about tech and gear, and Akai had some really big issues with their force and something.
This is where you are working at. So if you're talking about we, it's about that, but it's not me. It's him working there.
Yes,
We
I
are,
work at Exploding Shed. That's an DIY module shop. So,
Well, I think that, I am the one who reads every single forum post. Actually, all three of us pretty much do. But it's my responsibility. I'm sort of the front line. I gather these things and I try to figure out, what to do with them. And, for sure, we have both had and still have some pretty angry customers about one thing or another. And I think you find that on every forum.
it's totally normal.
I don't take it personally. At some point, I think beyond tech, we all have to realize that we're working with and for artists, and artists are a quirky bunch. I'm one, right? We want what we want, and the reasons that we want it, doesn't matter. We know what we need, and we want what we want, and it's a challenge sometimes, and it's hard to please everyone. It's hard to please everyone, but we do our best. I try. We try.
Just one question about the micro versions is, will there be another micro version of another module coming out? Does it even make sense? I don't know.
Hey, surprise!
Thanks for that question, Jay. The answer is, if you scroll down a little bit, scroll down on that page, we're going to make a micro version of the MX. No, I'm just joking. We're not.
Yeah, okay.
It'll only have one plug. It'll either be in or out. It won't be very useful. But so, and to answer that question, the answer is right now we don't have any plans for that, but anything is possible, really.
Okay.
Should we talk a bit about these, or go to the Bluebox now?
I think we
because
should go
there
to
are
the
some
Bluebox
questions waiting, I think.
Yeah.
so okay, let's.
Well, if I
do
had
it.
a message to anyone, it's buy the Bitbox, use the FX box and the synth box. As much as I love what the Bitbox does, I am so in love with the synth box and really the FX box. I've never played with an FX unit quite like this one, so it is pretty special.
Yeah, maybe you should just explain. The FX box is, of course, an FX machine where you can route anything with anything and modulate and patch it.
So
and
ultimately,
the synth box is the same for synthesizers, as you can see on the screen here, oscillators, filters, things like that.
The synth box is a 4-voice wavetable synth, and you can combine those together, or you can send all 4 out individually. The modulations that come in can either be grouped individually per voice or against all voices, and that's really cool. Moving to the right there to that FX box, though. So basically, think of the FX box as a 2-in, 4-out effects unit that has 2 individual effects chains. You have A and you have B, and each of those can take input from both or either of the inputs, and they can send to either the FX pair or the output pair. So you could have 2 mono in, stereo out effects boxes. You could have a true stereo in, stereo out box. You can have different think of your A and your B as like different pages. And right now, if you look at this, we're looking at the B page. In the upper right corner has a B. So you can add up to 16 effects per circuit, per A or per B. You can activate the effect only on a MIDI trigger or on a gate signal, or you can, each one of those cells, each one of those effects has its own internal sequencer that can turn things on and off. So I've done some really interesting to me anyway. I've done some really interesting things combining various effects and sequencing them so they turn on and off. And then if you play just play a C through it, just a middle C on a piano, and you're going to get such amazing rhythmic and weird sounds and stuff that can all be modulated by incoming MIDI or CV. It's quite a module, and to think that it was just an add-on as firmware, it's pretty impressive.
How many effects can you route?
There are 16 total.
Yeah.
The only limitation, and I'd have to go back and triple check my notes on this, but there are a couple of them that only allow 1 or 2 instances because they're pretty expensive on the CPU. So you couldn't, for instance, have like a pitch shifting. I'm pretty sure that one's covered. But you couldn't have a plugin that can only have 1 instance, can either be on A or on B, could not be on both. But there's only a couple like that are really heavy.
Okay.
I've had my hands on it, and I can really say that the big thing here is to have 16 effects in one hand, controllable by your CV.
Yeah.
Basically, that's quite a lot. Just
And not just
switching
1
them.
or 2 parameters to control with CV. It's
you can control. You can control a lot of things, and it's different for each. It's different for each effect. Obviously the parameters, but almost everything can be. Might want to check myself on that, but I think almost everything can be modulated.
You can. I think you can set it which CV port will address what, and I think it was 2 per effect, so you can set everything you want, but you have to, of course, limit yourself because there's a certain amount of jacks in here. But
the other interesting thing about this is that if you look at those 16 cells, the signal path starts at the top left and it goes left to right and top down. So even just changing the order in which you put the effects makes a big difference.
And maybe we have to mention it's a touch screen, so you can just put your finger on it and switch it manually.
Yep. The nice thing about the effects box and really the synth box is that the menus are not that deep. So really, you touch a cell, hit info, and you almost have everything that you need right there. There's also there's an XY pad kind of hidden in all of these. So if you wanted to assign or have 2 parameters, let's say on that filter, and then you wanted to control that on the touch screen with an XY pad, you can do that as well.
This is something you adapted on the Bluebox.
I don't know if the XY pad on the Bluebox came directly from that, but we definitely we have 2 XY pads. We have one for delay and we have one for reverb on the Bluebox.
Okay.
Okay, that's the best way to get over to the Bluebox now.
Yeah,
I think so. Yes. So, how was the idea behind the Bluebox? Was it necessary? Okay, we need a mixer or something, or how was the story behind the Bluebox? Because no one made such a little mixer this kind of capable.
Yeah. It was something that I think Aaron really wanted to build. I think I don't recall how the whole thing started. I do remember him saying he wanted to build one, and do I think that would be oops, sorry, my Siri. I remember him saying, "Hey, we should build a mixer. What do you think about that?" And I thought, yeah, that's a great idea. But then when I found it, when I got it, when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is really cool. And truthfully, the more that I use it, the longer I have it, the more I realize like how important it is and how much I really do not just like it, but use it in my just everyday setup. Getting all of my camera stuff ready for you right now.
Oh, this would be great. In the meantime, as anybody knows, we are an independent channel, and if you like, you can throw us a few bucks on this link. It's in the chat, and you can see it on screen now. Mick, are you? Can you hear me? You're muted.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm muted.
Fine.
There have been some questions, but maybe we should talk about. I think you're ready quite now. So I switch over to this. We had to do this because it was the only way to really see something. But yeah, it's I cannot zoom in here, so I'm sorry for that. Maybe I can just. No, that won't help.
A little bit better.
Okay, let's get through it. If you have, it's a digital mixer, so you have to get to be somewhere at the same time. And there is, I see effects, I see equalizer, I see main. And there's a compressor also somewhere.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is this compressor global or for every channel?
Currently, the compressor is on the master.
Okay,
So
like
it's
the
a master
black box
channel, and there are two buses that work. That is it's a reverb and a delay. And they got yeah, of course. This is the master.
Yeah, you get all the master compressor settings here. So one of the things, so if I just give you a little tour of it, the first thing, and I think we've seen all the ports and everything, so I won't go too deep into that, but you get it, you power it on, it will likely look like this. You start off with 4 tracks. From this main mixer button, right now we hit what's going to be a B button that says back now on a pre-production unit, but let's see if I can lighten that a little bit. There you go. Now I can choose, do I want 4, 6? I'll just choose 8, and now I have 8 tracks.
So does this mean you can edit 8 tracks at a time, or 16 tracks, or whatever you say, or 12 tracks?
Right now, there's no real editing. Right now, you can capture things.
It's just a recorder.
So this is the recorder.
So really, it's set up, and I'll take you over here. If I had recorded something so far, it would show up here. So you'd see all your files. And I'll just show you, this is really cool. So let's say that I'm going to go to record and enable this first track. I'm going to hold down play and record and just get a couple seconds of this. And you'll see I'll stop and I go back to edit. Here I have a file.
But no editor, so you can't see the WAV file or something like this in this current version.
I should say that the current firmware that you're looking at is not the final firmware. It's just where we're at right now.
Okay.
So the other cool thing here is I just recorded one quick take. If I come in, I hit play and record again. I'll just record for a couple seconds. You can see the counters moving in the top bar. Hit stop. Now when I come back to edit, you can see I have 2 takes.
Okay.
And I can choose if I want, let's say I want this one, I can tap that one and hit the info, or will be the A button, and I can set that to be the active track. Or I can come back here to this one, trying to do this and watch myself at the same time. So you can have, it will keep track of your multiple takes per track. You can go back and enable those or disable them. But the great thing is you can just take the micro SD card out and drop it right into your DAW. It was when I made the 2 of the Bluebox videos that you've seen were from me. I made them, and I made them all and recorded all of the audio for those videos using the Bluebox in the video in real time. That's how pretty versatile that little machine is. Right now, my tracks are labeled 1 through whatever. But if I go to the track button and I want to touch a track, config, I can clear that, and I can set. Just put something like DR for drums, right? So you can name your tracks, and the nice thing is that name is picked up over here, so you know what you're looking at here. It's kind of nice. Back in that track screen, I'm going to hit again.
You can do mono and stereo recordings, and
Yep.
therefore just chain those left and right channels together.
Yes.
Then, so when you control some of these stereo channels, it will apply to both of them, or
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
okay.
And then you can see here, so if you hit track, basically the mixer is trying to show you something across all tracks. The track button is trying to show you everything about a track. When you get to this track screen, if you hit the B, which will be the B button, here you can select a track and then choose where it gets its out or its input from. So you have your input matrix here. You just tap to select, tap the name to clear, the name. So that's pretty straightforward there. The track button itself, when you tap it, you'll see that it's toggling the focus between the various parameters. And so
if you press on those knobs beside it, it's 4 knobs, so it's 4 parameters, and then you just have to click on it twice. And
well, you can just grab a control here, without even selecting.
Okay.
You can just do that. But
Fine.
if you like to use the knobs, if you're tactile that way, you can just use this track button here to toggle back and forth between your focus, and then use the knobs, whatever way you want.
And you can
touch also to change
move
focus.
the knobs at the same time, two or 3 knobs.
If I had another
that's-
arm, I could move all 4 for you.
That's really fine to get more hands-on, because sometimes I get
It's a mixer. You really need to do that. So,
I got the Zoom H8
Yeah.
today, and there are some things that you can only edit on, especially some values only edit over this. I don't want to say crappy, but rather primitive touch screen. It's not like a black box, and that really sucks. But this is something I really like. So you have everything you can change via screen or with a button, so everyone should be happy, and you can change
what will
2
be
things at once.
the layout be like when you create 12 tracks, which is the maximum?
So I can go back to mixer. So I will say that, this is, you have to bear with me a little bit. If I go to 12 tracks, I get this, and it's still, you can read everything, you can see everything. One of the features anyway that I like under tools is this, what we're calling right now vertical mode on and off. So with vertical mode off, your tracks are stacked in these columns, where the DR, this is track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so forth. If I go back to tools, and if I had another hand, it would actually be helpful. If I put this back on vertical mode and go back, now I'm everything that I can see here.
Okay, this looks much more classical, but much more fiddly.
So I personally, I have fought for this view hardcore because I come from a more, let's say, traditional audio engineering background where I want a mixer to look like a mixer, and I've had to come to terms with that. And I've actually grown to like the column view in some way, in a lot of ways actually. But it's also important to note that here in the mute screen, you can mute things just by touching them. The solo is nice. You can drag across, these gestures. So
that's fine.
you can, even in the record screen, you can do
How do you mute channels separately?
you just tap on them, and when they mute, they'll be gray.
Ah, okay.
So
you tap on the top
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
or anywhere
Oh,
on
okay.
tap over
This is
here.
maybe something
okay.
in the vertical mode. It's a little bit horizontal mode. It's a little bit easier to grab.
Yeah, definitely. If I go back and I turn this back to off, then for sure it's easy to just mute those, and they're grayed out when they're muted, so they would look like that. When they're solo, this is really hard to do. Okay, when they're solo, you get this nice outline that persists across all of your other screens.
Okay.
And then you'll notice too that because we have this obvious 4 knob form factor here, you'll notice that in this column view, your selection is also in a 2x2 grid. So in this case, the lower left is controlling 2, the upper left is controlling 1. The
So these are the controls for the first, or those you have been activating before.
These are just solos, and I could go back to record and
So
turn
if
them.
you just set,
So if I want to now control, let's say, the next set of 4 tracks, I can hit the mixer button once, and now
same with this.
and I can do, and it's persists across all of them. So in the mixer page, if I hit what will be the A button once, I get this. I get this second page of. I get this little second page, so I get gain and FX.
One second. Okay, we got some interruption in your
I think
camera
it got
stream.
stuck.
Oh, sorry.
At the moment, I think it's back. I think it's back now. No, it doesn't.
No, it's frozen.
I will fix that. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yes. There we go.
It looks very, very.
Okay, here we go. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, it works. It works.
Every once in a while, my phone, you'd think I'd be better with technology. I am, actually. It's a joke. But so anyway, the mixer button will toggle your selections of 4, and then each one of those.
So it's the basic concept to just hit the button multiple times and to push through.
Well, that's one of the ways. The other way, if I wanted to switch focus back here, I can just touch over here. So I get a combination. Almost every control has more than one more than one entry into it.
Will you see the exact value of it?
Yes.
I can see something, but I'm not really sure.
Let's say I wanted to send track 4. I want to adjust the gain, and as I do that,
okay. So
and then it'll wait about 2 or 3 seconds, and then it'll dissipate. Now, the other cool thing is if you look at the bottom of that 4th track, let's say, right, you have pan, and so now pan moves the same way, right, but it's still just on knob number 4. So some variation of hitting this info button and controlling a knob, and you could get to every parameter on any track pretty quickly. So you can pan this way. If I go back and say, oh, I want to send some of this to FX1, maybe I want to send a little bit to FX2. For sure, I'm going to need to turn it up in the queue. And then
remember, or we just the FX1 is delay and the FX2 is the reverb, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. And the Q is sort of an aux.
Q was meant to be a headphone output originally, and we changed the name to Q, but it's basically a headphone mix or just another.
It could be a submix.
Yeah, it could be Yeah, you could
Could
use
you
them for anything.
send, say, some channels to just this output then?
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that I did in my videos, and one of the things that's really cool about this, a little plug for a company that I also love very much.
I have the same one here.
I love this thing. Aaron sent it to me, and I'm not sure he's ever getting it back. But so it's pretty easy to take an output out of the back. You know, whether that's going to be the phones or what's the Q mix or out 1 and 2. Send that, let's say, out 2 to the H9 and bring that back in a track. And I do that on the videos. The Kalimba video actually has this little piece, this little zoom. It's an ambisonic mic, but it has a line output. And if you take that line output directly into the Bluebox and then send and return with the H9, and that's how I made that video. So you can do that, and it's pretty easy to do it.
There's one thing I really like to have. Is there some idea of chaining two blue boxes to have the same, say, buses inside, or is there any secret connection to make it a 24 channel mixer? I think I bombed you.
So let me just say, at the moment, no. But it's always interesting what people ask for. If I firmly believe that if we had made a blue box with 48 inputs, people would want 96. And I understand. I get it. I'm one of you. I get it.
Just because it is quite close to it's about saving 2 channels, but if you have an option to just put them together, that would be fine. Even if you think about recording, then you can record any channel, and maybe you can record the master as well.
Yes.
Right?
So when you set to record, you can get 12 stems, either mono or stereo, depending on what you set, and a stereo master.
Okay. So it's
will there be an Ableton export too?
We haven't put that in here because I don't think that we'd need it. In the black box, that's my guess. The black box has a grid, and it makes more sense to try to correlate what happens in the black box and what happens in live. But in this case, it really truly is as easy as taking the micro SD card out and dropping those audio files. For me, it was Logic, and it made my entire workflow for making videos a lot easier. It made me really happy to drag and drop.
Yeah, it's just one would like that too. And
there was something.
Here's a couple of J's.
Yes.
A couple of J's asking questions.
It's always the J's.
Does the Blue Box have MIDI learn? So I asked about the MIDI CCs already, but this time it's about MIDI learn. So I think it might be implemented, but this time it's the question if you can learn or will they be fixed?
I'm going to say that for sure they're not going to be fixed. That would be, I think that would be weird. I would be shocked. But I would expect this same type of screen logic to end up in the Blue Box. Maybe it looks different or something, but we already have the learn functionality built into the black box, so I don't see why that wouldn't make it into the Blue Box. Keep in mind, I don't make any of these decisions, so I'm just trying to answer questions. Don't hold me to any of this.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah. This one, yeah, it's just about the colors.
I mean, I didn't choose the colors, though. I have to say that I'm partial to blue.
I think it's just because it's really different, and you can instantly see there's something differently.
They are definitely high contrast, and pink is one of our kind of company colors. We use pink a little bit.
Look at Dean's background.
Yeah. A lot of people have asked for other color schemes. I would say, here's the key. I'll tell you the key to getting what you want. You have to go to our forum. You have to post and just be reasonably nice about it, not even too nice about it, and then get other people to +1 you. If you can do that, it makes a really good case for why we should add something. It doesn't mean that it'll get added. It just means that that's a good way to go.
There are some questions we really want to see answered about the black box. In this case, in the forum, we have some big questions for a long time.
Here is the special super asking force, Mr. Microbug. He's really known for asking how to really technical question. But he's about asking for it's still the MIDI thing, and if it's could be controllable by the standard DAW controllers.
My guess is that it will be just straight MIDI CC. I think you could make a case. Be careful how I say this. I think you could make a case for why MPN would be useful, or just that high definition signal would be useful for some controls over others. But I'm not sure that would be terribly effective the way in our box, the way that it's effective in other boxes or other devices, other machines.
Just to tell everyone what we are talking about is 7-bit resolution means the classic 128 steps, so to say. And
16,000 instead of instead of 128.
If you add more depth, like using these NRPN controllers, you may be able to add more. Most of the things, the faders and boxes, I know you use I think 4096 or something like that. As for resolution for controlling volume. I think you don't need it for panorama things, more like the volume.
I think modulation and effects, signal processing, that kind of stuff, I think it makes a lot of sense.
He's still holding on. He's making suggestions. You might rather post to the forum because it's getting. Yeah, of course, XML is a special thing.
That's a great question, and we do use our preset structure is all XML.
So
okay, we can
do that.
Would be possible.
It's possible.
Because
but I will say that we don't necessarily use an XML table that is specifically for MIDI controls. I'll tell you something that's interesting. I have never used a tracker. I just haven't. I'm very interested in them. But we have a user on our forum who has emailed me a few times, and this person makes black box presets by opening an XML file and cut and pasting all the information into it. And he swears that it's 1,000,000 times easier than doing it on the box or in any other way. So, there are workarounds.
So it would be good to have in the forum a special place for mappings or something.
Well, one of the things that I think has been suggested or asked for in the black box has been some type of global mapping. So you could map level to pad one time, and it just can stay that way all the time, so that it's more controller dependent. But
this would be really, really great.
Yeah.
It is. What is the maximum resolution of the recording? I think it's 24 bits.
Like everything that we do, it's 2448.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's really satisfying. You are talking about 48. It's 69. So yeah, okay. I think we should not go on with these kind of things because it's getting more and more complicated.
Okay, this blows everything up. But it's a micro bug. It's okay. We know him really well.
Microbug, how do different takes appear on the SD card? So once you've recorded, you come over here to the edit, and you'll see here I've named a couple tracks.
Just
Wait a second.
Just a moment.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just no,
So
no, you can start.
If you are looking at, like, say, the main page, if you hit the edit button,
It's nothing happening.
Okay, we have a
It's
Hold
still
on.
again freezing.
it's because sometimes my
Maybe I put it that way so you can see when it's back again.
1 second.
Okay, it's the typical live stream things.
Let me just go ahead and open this up again.
Uh,
There we go.
There's
Meanwhile,
a thing. There's
we
a thing called live coding, programming your music.
right.
Right in time.
So with the
it's
mixer,
back, it's back.
there you go. Sorry about that. With the mixer, if you hit the edit button, you'll see a list of all of your recordings. Currently, they have a fairly generic name, but they are in the box. They are all tied to the track that they were created with, and so you can see that second take right now is active. But I can simply touch the top one, hit what will be the A button, and then I can make that one active. It will now be the track that plays back.
Okay, fine.
Jay, there's no product leak.
I just scroll through all these things and
Yeah,
maybe I
some
have
questions.
some questions. If things get just repost it. If I don't see it, just repost it. It's not evil or
Sometimes we oversee some
yeah.
things.
Just post it again, and maybe it's even better in time. Can you show a clean screen with without the recording controls?
With different app. I promise to have my stuff together the next time we do this. In all fairness, I am stuck in my bedroom working like most people, but I have an office that is about a week away for me being able to move into it.
We heard it knocking. So
Yes.
you already have some workers over
They're
there.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah, just so we well.
So we
but-
really appreciate that you take the time to tell us about the Bluebox and the other stuff. Any questions further?
Well,
about
the two things that we haven't looked at, if you want to go back to my fancy
Screen?
webcam
Yes.
screen, the two things that I should definitely show you. One of them is the EQ, and
really, genau.
I really
The
like
EQ is per channel, right?
it is per channel and on the master.
Of course.
So
yeah.
it's as simple. So right now you see that there's 4 bands. Pressing the EQ button will cycle through the bands.
Yeah, okay. That's what we've learned.
Let's say I could say a low cut, and I can move it. Frequency is in percentage now, but that of course will be an actual frequency number at some point. You can, I know I played with this a bunch in one of my videos, but you can adjust the Q or the resonance, whatever you like to call that. And then if this isn't, clear enough, you just hit the info button.
Okay, fine.
So this is
This brings one question for me about the black box. Where is the resonance in the filter?
So the other cool thing is,
Sorry.
it's a fair question, and it's also fair to say that some things that may have found life in the blue box could potentially find life in other modules. Anything is almost possible there. In addition to this EQ, which again you can tap and move this stuff around. I think you saw Travarsi doing this a bunch in her videos. but the FX screen. And so when you tap effects the first time, you get delay. And here, you can use the 4 knobs, of course. We have a filter on the delay feedback, which is, I think, a really kind of neat.
Oh, nice.
So your cutoff and width here are the filter parameters for the feedback of the delay. It's kind of cool. If you hit effects again, you see the first page here, you get reverb settings. And these are not all of the settings. Again, you can touch the screen, you can move these in any way, select which track you're working with. You can use knobs based on your focus.
If you press on info, you get more of those parameters,
if
right?
you press info, you get extra iPads.
Okay.
If inside here, you go back to what will be the config or the B button, here you get all of
so this is the extended.
Okay, that's
many
much more
parameters?
than the black box.
It has a really nice freeze. It also has this resonance and this modulation stuff. These 3 right here are really incredible parameters. This modulation, the depth, and the resonance do some really weird things. And you can get some really interesting effects by using this verb. I've been really impressed with it. And
It's
again,
a little bit sad that we can't hear this now.
There's one interesting question about CVs, because actually the Bluebox is a mixer.
Yeah.
And basically you could make it a CV recorder. I think that is the question. Is that
you
possible?
could. Yeah. I have not done or tried that yet, but all of our audio inputs on these are high res 2448, so you should be able to get a really nice, accurate representation of the signal.
The same thing with the black box. I tested this with the black box, and this works.
Yep.
And the funny thing is, you can record something else and use this as a voltage.
Yeah, you can. Make your own wavetable, or make your own voltage table, or whatever.
Yes, something. I think they are still interested in how the files of the recordings are made of, or how are they laid out. I think they are separate files of.
Yes.
All right.
So when you open up the micro SD card on your computer, you'll see a structure very similar to the other boxes that we have. So you'll have in this case, they're not presets, they're projects. So the black box will give you the blue box.
Blue box, yeah.
Project folder. I can't even say BB or B box because they all mean the same thing, but the blue box will give you an actual project folder. Inside that project folder will be all of the WAV files that you have recorded.
And they are just like numbers added for the channels.
All right, let's pause on that for a second, and I'll fix this. Currently, you just have a big wave or a big folder full of WAV files, but you can name those WAV files in the black box in a couple of ways. And so, all right, we can go back now. If you look at the project, we'll look at the project.
1 minute.
There we go.
Okay. It works.
So you can see.
Okay, that looks like.
So this all looks like the same stuff that we've done, and you get basically, it's not finished, but you get all the stuff that you need in here in terms of projects. But when you're looking at the content of a project, that is in the edit section, or the edit behind the edit button.
So you have two files right now because you've not recorded.
That's right.
Anything, yeah. Okay.
And if I wanted, because I have this first one selected, I could tap File and I could rename that file. So I can do all of that housekeeping, or you can do all of the housekeeping here in the blue box if you want to.
Cool.
Fine.
Can
you set an project name, and the files are getting also the same name like the project?
So currently the recording files come in like this, which is the same. It's the same convention that we use with the black box, but I would expect that to be something more specific tied to the track name. But that's still that's in front of us, so I'm not really 100% confident of how that might work out. But
He's asking for a red box.
yeah,
There's two additional question about the CV control. I think it's 5 volts, right?
yes,
Yeah, and so this is this, and here's the jacks are the hard locked. So you can assign them freely. I think that's the question,
that's
right?
true. Yep,
Yeah.
on in or out. So you could, you're going to need some either really small splitters, or let me see if I have one of these. I bought these off of Amazon. They're about $10, $12 each. They're not necessarily the cheapest cable, but they are, if I can get both ends here to show you, they are stereo mini, dual mono 3.5. So they interface really nicely with all of your existing modular gear, and all of those fit along with our cable. If I want to do a little logo reveal there you go. Our
This is
cable,
really,
nice,
really cool.
fine.
This is really small, the jack itself.
yeah, it's really tiny. But I have found that these cables that I have, or the adapters from HOSA, a lot of cables will work.
A little bit patient, because Exploding Shed Leaf Audio has something in coming, and I can tell you this would be really great, but I can't show anything further than this. So
Yeah, but still we are not supported by them.
no. But we work on something that would be really, really suitable for the blue.
You do,
blue
not
and
me.
black. No,
I'm
no.
definitely interested.
This is special. It's about the font being used for having the space perfectly used according to the font used.
Like in the track, you mean, or?
No, it's just about the font, how the numbers look like. It's really, really nerdy question, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's about a typography, at least.
I think
Well,
that
this is not a Mac machine, or not something to. But he's asking for it because he thinks that the room could be used more efficiently. But that's what I see here. Like this. Otherwise, yeah.
so.
This.
Why this box? I think you waste a lot of space. So, I think that first the important thing to remember is that I'm showing you firmware that's not finished. And so those are the obvious things that we address. In terms of the decision to use the actual look of the UI and the fonts, that was made long before I came on board. And I can tell you that from my understanding, the way that I see it is that anything that we put in these boxes that takes away from its ability to perform as an instrument is probably considered to be not essential. And it would be great to have a retina screen with all these very sharp graphics, but you have to remember that costs something. It's not free. And everything that you put into making it look shiny and smooth and stuff on the screen is stuff you take away from making music, which is the whole reason that we have these boxes. So it's a trade-off for sure.
So we have some buttons left there. There's edit, there's project. That's the project. I think that it's just the main something like the master page.
Yeah, project will give you, it was basically like the preset page on the back.
So it's already, so there's no not so many menus hidden behind when
yeah, like if you hit project, the only menu this is all that you see. If you want to go in and file and delete or rename, you can. The mixer,
Okay.
if we look, I'll take you left to right. The mixer button will just show you your tracks, and the mixer button itself will, of course, toggle your selections. In the B button will let you decide how many tracks you want, and the info, or the A button here, will toggle the page of which controls you're looking at. So the mixer is really showing you something about everything at once. The track screen shows you, we try to show everything about one track at a time. And so all of these parameters are the various parameters that you would find here, but they're here just dedicated to a single track. And again, the B button will let you choose a new name and then just choose your input matrix. And the A button, or the other button here, will just toggle between your two selections of your focus here. Going to main, we have basically a meter bridge so that we can see everything up on top, including the master. But here's where we can get to our Q output level, our output 2 level. You can also come in here and really easily mute whole output sets or groups if you want. And again, the B button here, it's on the main screen, will show you where is your Q mix coming from. So if you have it set to custom, the idea is that you go into every track and you send however much of that track you want to your headphones. If you do main, then you're getting a tap from the main outputs, which means you'll hear all of the effects and everything in your headphones.
Okay.
And then you have the ability to set Q and the out and the effects mixes to pre or post fader. And then you have all of your master compressor settings in there as well. The EQ button just shows you all tracks that you have with a small EQ, or you can blow that up and get a little more granular if you want to. No audio pun intended. The FX screen, again, you stay with the same meter bridge, but the first effects you're taken to, of course, is effects 1, that's your delay. And as you hit the FX button, it will now show you the reverb and toggle focus. But you can also toggle focus just by touching a group. You can hit the info button in the effects screen to get to your XY pads.
These XY pads, are they assignable, or are they?
Currently, they're hard-coded, but I believe that we're hoping to have them assignable. I think that's the plan.
So it's quite like having two little chaos pads.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And then again, on that FX screen, if you hit the back button, then you get all of your reverb controls are exposed here. Let's see. And the edit button will show you everything that you've recorded and allow you to, again, change the active track that's playing. Also go in and rename or delete files if you want to. And again, here, the B button doesn't do anything. The A button just toggles the active state of a particular take. We have the project, which really just, I can go in and say new, clear, call it ABC, enter. And it's just how I make my presets, or we call them projects here on the Bluebox, but you would think of it as a preset. And then finally, the tools button, which is not fully fleshed out, of course, but we have just some basic stuff. You can see what's left on your micro SD card. If you run low on space, you'll see a red text warning up here in the top bar, much like the black box. And here you can turn the vertical mode on or off, just in brightness.
MIDI should be implemented.
Yeah, I would imagine that stuff would end up in the tool section. I don't know. I don't actually make all the or really any of the big decisions or whatever. But I would say that if you look at the black box, and then you look at this, you can kind of see we already have done this work. It's just a matter of how do we implement that here on the Bluebox.
Yes. I really can see this in my studio to set and forget it for some things and jam along and take this and put this in my Ableton work. Yes.
The preset or the project thing here for me is it's a real convenience. You know, I've worked with digital mixers my entire professional life, and unless you have a really nice mixer that can have full recall, you know, there's a lot of turning knobs and setting things up before you can start working. And so having a preset you can load, has all your gain, your effects, has all your settings just dialed in. It just gets you to working. It gets you to making music a little bit quicker.
If you order one, is there a chance to order the cables since you or with it, or is it? I think it's just the box itself.
On our website, I think it's just the box, but we also do offer all of the cables. We sell the little mini TRS here with our logo. It's kind of cool. But we also, I think we're gonna look at some slightly shorter cables, possibly just for this type of reason, you know.
And if you want to use mono channels, you have to split that stereo cable.
No, not necessarily. I mean, you can plug. I can plug a mono signal into input one.
But then you don't have access to the other channel then.
Well, that's true. If you want it, if you want access to both channels, yes. But you could just plug mono in. You
could use 6 channels as mono with mono cables.
Yeah, without even without using any adapter cables. So you just
just to be sure. Do you need some special split cables or something for? I don't know. I don't think so. Right? It's just the inputs.
I think it's going to depend largely on what your gear is. I have
an insert cable for something.
Like I have a series of cables that have like 3.5 mono to 1/4 inch mono, so that I can incorporate line level gear with my rack stuff. I have these.
It is actually line level, right? It's not
no,
microphone.
It will accept both. Okay. There's no mic, so that's another thing that there's no mic preamps. So there are no mic pre's. It's all meant for. You know, essentially, you could. When I plug things into it, I find that the gain staging at 0 is good for line level. I could turn the gain all the way down for a Euro rack level, and it would still be pretty strong. And you can see there what's coming into this track is coming right out of the black box. And so even with the gain all the way down, you're still seeing on track 1 there a pretty healthy signal.
So if you want to use a standard microphone, of course, you have to use a preamp. But this is mainly, it's really, its aim is synthesizers, Eurorack, drum machines, stuff like that. So it's
not
made
a podcast mixer or something. You don't have 48 volt phantom power or something.
That's correct.
Really something we have to address. So this is not this type of mixer.
But I also think that people who have a desktop full of devices, if you have a microphone, if you want to record audio through a microphone, you probably, especially if you're like even a little bit nerdy, you probably have a decent mic pre that you really like. And so it's pretty easy to set it up into that. And again, like I show this one because I love playing with this thing, and it's the Zoom H3 VR, but it has a line output on it, right? So I can take that, and I did in the video, took it right out into the Bluebox. It sounded great.
I have an H2N, and this also have an micro multi pattern microphone. So that's really great to set it up and make spatial recordings around and surround.
How long does it take to develop one of these let's put it that way, how long does it take to make the red box?
Well, I think that there is an old idiom or saying that someone asks a very accomplished pianist how long it took him to prepare for a particular concert, and his answer was my entire life.
Yeah.
In more reasonable terms, I don't know how long the dream of the Blue Box has been alive in Aaron's brain, but I think I only learned about it early this year, and we've only been really working on it for inside
That's
of
pretty
2020.
fast.
Yeah.
That's pretty fast.
Hmm.
Developing. Yeah. How?
But in all
think.
fairness, this is not a brand new, spanking brand new product, right? It looks a lot like this thing.
Yes, of course.
It has impressively the same number of jacks,
still.
right? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just.
I'll just turn that off for a little bit here. It has the same number of jacks as the black box. It looks like the black box. So we borrowed from the black box in order to make the blue box. So in all fairness, we didn't really start from scratch. We started from something that we had already tested and knew to be working and good, and then we modified it. So
there's still maybe the modules could be something like to be transformed to the desktop, like that effects box could be could get the red box or something.
Yeah, I suppose that's always
box.
possible. Something I always, Aaron still, he says almost anything is possible when you write code.
Yeah.
So it is possible, I suppose. I don't know that that's on the calendar for us, but
Green box.
it's hard to give good answers and not like say too much and just
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
But
We
this,
can answer
if you say that,
yeah, I know.
it looks like it's there's something in the making.
When I say that, Jay, who is still on this, he's going to think that I'm speaking in code, and he's going to think that I'm saying something to him.
Hopefully, Aaron doesn't see this, and you get in trouble.
I'm hoping that myself. Yeah.
Here's just one question about dual stereo splitter type, typically used for a headset. Yeah. The answer is yes.
We could do a little comparison in size, if you like.
It's the same size, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but to show this little thing, maybe I have to spank this up.
It's right above it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here you can see a MIDI fighter twister and this new H8, and if you look closely, and it will do this. Whoop.
It's about showing how small it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually,
This is a really good comparison, because the Bluebox will have more than 12 IOs, and this has 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think it's
5,
12
6,
channels.
7, 8
When
at once.
you add the additional.
But only just one stereo and the others are mono. And if you look closely, this is really not so tiny, and it's much higher in space. So if you look like this,
I think the H8 looks much like these. How do they in Stargate? There are living creatures like that.
it looks very like a
replicator.
spider.
It's a replicator.
I think that's a different firmware, but
And to say I don't want to blame Zoom, that's not what I want, because I bought this with my own money today. So it feels much cheaper than a black box. So please consider this. This is very completely different kind of things, but it also has a multi-track recording, but not the same kind like a blue box. So that said, I'm back. If you like, we can talk a little bit about the black box for a minute.
Sure. Yeah.
I got some questions, mainly to address some questions I have about MIDI implementation for mapping.
Okay.
So maybe I should go back on this other webcam, and you saw the MIDI fighter twister.
Yep.
And I mapped here the sequencer works fine, and this works over the velocity. And if I go out, and now I have all the pads here assigned, so I can do something like start loops and stuff, or you hear this? This is really loud. So it would be nice to have something, a different path to set the gain and for the mixer and the gain inside of the sample differently. Is this possible? So you have two stages.
So are you wanting to set your MIDI modulations there in the mix page?
Yes. This would be if it's different. So you can say make the sample louder at once and then mix it after the loudness.
It's probably possible.
This is something, and to have the mute stuff also
accessible.
Yes, and the effects would be also great to have this as a MIDI function.
Yeah, I mean, as a guy who uses these boxes, I would agree with you 100%. As the guy who works for the company that makes these boxes, my answer will just be the same, which is almost anything is possible, and it's always a hard maybe. But I don't want to. I make kind of funny about that. But the truth is that I read every single post on our forum, and so does Aaron and Christine. And if you want something, that's where you make your case. And I don't know. Mostly, I think when you say I want a thing and here's why I want it and here's how it should work, and a bunch of other people are like, oh yeah, I want that too. That's what the thing that gets our attention and goes, okay, so because you have to, circling back to that one angry person on the forum, which, everyone who's ever been on a forum has met that person, right? Or those people. And sometimes I have been one of those people on other forums. But, the truth is you just want what they want. And if it's one person or two people who want something, that may or may not be
difficult to make the
But when 50 people want the same thing, now it's something that we have to really consider. That doesn't mean to go to my forum and start upvoting everything. It just means that
here's someone asking for a sort of red box, a P box, a power box that is or a power bank. This is about the size of the blue box and the black box, which is not the worst idea, I think.
Jay's question about finding something that fits perfectly. Amazon, I have one in one of my wish lists, and I could dig it out and forward it. In fact, I'll post it on our forum so that Jay can see it, but I'll send it to you guys. And it's small and it's square, and it's the one that the guy told me that he does that he left it on for 24 hours and it was still running. It's the one that he uses. It's not cheap, but you can power several black boxes from it, probably even a laptop. So
I even have one from Thomas. I could show this, and that's a really
hi, Frank.
a big one. Yeah,
Hello,
Frank
Frank.
from Tomaso. He's the reseller of the 1010 stuff in Germany.
They also do some repairs for us, and they're excellent. We could
So
not be thankful enough.
this is the case I bought on Amazon, and it fits this
nice.
huge a power bank with Lightning, USB-C, and
Maybe compare to the black box so we can
that's the point.
see how
That's,
it fits.
that fits in the back of the
Yeah, like this.
bag in the sleeve here, and I can put this in there. And
Could you place it beside the black box so we can see how it works out?
do this on the top, and can you see this?
Okay. Yeah.
It's really much bigger, but it fits perfectly with this box, and I have all enough space for the rest of my gear. So I have a little bag with all my cables, so the adapter, all the other stuff, and I even have a space for earplugs, so in ears and stuff, and I think this is a good way to have.
Overdub is asked. They've been asking for overdubbing while recording. It's referring to the
Oh,
black
this
box.
one, yes. Here.
Oops.
Yeah, that one is really close to the footprint of the black box.
So maybe
The Omni
choose
charge.
that one.
Yes.
It's not cheap either. It's 189 US. I don't know what.
And you have a wall plug.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you get a wall plug. You've got
Oh.
2 high-powered ports there, and I think there's a couple USB-C stuff. It's pretty versatile, so you can see and wireless charging for your phone, of course. So yeah, you can see it's
Okay. It's pretty difficult to ship something around with built-in
batteries. Huh?
batteries nowadays. So
Well,
that's
right
one
now-
thing.
In the United States, it's hard to ship everything.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just leave that one.
And this would be do the black box and the blue box much pricier.
Well, fortunately, we typically supply our German distributor, Tomaso, at the same time that we get our stock here. So when something is available in Europe, you should, they'll have it as soon as we have it. They'll have it when we have it. Sometimes even before. Sometimes a day or two earlier.
One question: gets blue box or all the 1010 stuff assembled in the USA, or is this assembled in China?
We do have a factory in China that we're using. That we have. I don't know a lot about it. I know that Aaron did some pretty in-depth sort of research, and I think that came upon this factory from a referral or something. Just good relationship, and they actually have taken care of us pretty well so far. In the era of COVID, sometimes things just take longer, and we deal with that too. But I think we've been pretty happy with that.
Fine.
Yeah, we finally got 2 hours of talking. I don't know if you're still here, but I think we
made it.
most
Let me
of it.
just ask, did anyone have a question that you're burning that we did not get to? Is there just anything that you're like, oh my gosh? Please.
Maybe it would be great to do another one, maybe when the Bluebox is out, and we can show and showcase some stuff a little bit
Let's
more.
plan for another one when I have my setup right, and I'll make it look good, and we'll make it sound good, and we'll do another one. I'd be happy to do that anytime. Just, for the record, if anyone had a question or something, you didn't get it answered, you can always come to our forum.1010music.com. I look at it almost every single day, and I'd be happy to answer questions or, talk synth nerd stuff whenever.
And just one thing, tell us a little bit about yourself and your way to music.
My way to music. My mother forced me to take organ lessons when I was 5 years old, and I'm so grateful. I have played, I've been in bands and music my whole life. I was in a drum and bugle corps in the early 80s, so I'm not in my 20s, but I was in a drum and bugle corps. I got this I got hooked on what it means to be a drummer. And so I've been playing drums for a really long time. That's my primary instrument. But ultimately, when I went to school for technology. And so I have a couple degrees from the University of Michigan in media arts and performing arts technology. I have a doctorate in the performance of data-driven instruments. And I earned that a few years ago from the University of Oregon. And so in that degree, I largely I create sensor-based instruments, Arduino type stuff. I build and make all of it. I hack video game controllers. All sorts of things.
There's one thing I really stumbled. There's one module controlling video stuff. It's called the laser box.
Yes, the laser box.
Which is there are people over here who are using modular systems to control actually a laser or an oscilloscope and do really cool stuff. And I may switch back to.
It might be the one product
modular
that I didn't talk about, the laser box. The laser box is built on, it's the toolbox with a different firmware. So the laser box is built on that toolbox hardware. You can swap the firmware out and it will output X and Y pairs. The mod, I have a Cyclops module that they don't make anymore. They discontinued it recently. And it's pretty small. It's about the size of the Micro. And you can plug the laser box directly into that. And then any of your ILDA lasers can connect to that, and then you can control them. It's pretty cool.
Why is the difference about the price? Because some I think the here I need some time. Here, the black box and the blue box are, I think, almost technically the same, but there's a difference of $100. It's just because it's more, it needs more time to develop a black box.
I mean, largely it's blue. That's not a reason. I could only speculate, and my speculation would be that we started from the black box, and so a lot of the original or the initial R&D kind of work was already done for us. That's just my best guess.
Okay.
I actually don't even know if that's the way that Aaron would say it, or maybe necessarily accurate, but I would just guess that we already started with something. And
maybe we should do a talk with you and Aaron the next time. And the funny thing is, here is in Germany, it's now at the evening, and you're just at a.
I'm about to have lunch. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so. Maybe we could do this another time.
I will do my best to talk him into that.
would be really great because we can show this in your forum and especially in your Facebook group. And this is also one group that's really, really active and helps a lot.
Yeah,
So,
I'd be happy to come back anytime.
Cool, fine. Mick,
Yeah,
what
I'm
would
here.
you say?
Yeah,
Should we
I'm
talk a little
really-
bit about our new channel? You see, there's a new channel, and after the channel, there's a party going on in Jitsi.
Yeah, we need 100 subscriptions because we just really recently made it. Before that, we were on my channel, which is called Moogulator, and we had to change.
Oh, I see. We have now 102 abos.
Yeah, thank you. It's that's enough to make it a real, nice, readable address quite
But
soon.
not enough to
Yeah.
take over the whole planet.
Not
Yeah.
yet. Yeah. Is there anything final to ask from the chat? I think no, there's not. Why mixes are always cheaper than synth? Well, maybe mixes are a bit
Little
more
bit
easy.
easier
They
to
don't deal
develop
with
and
synthesis.
to make. Yes, after the stream is before the stream. So if you like, you can talk with us on our Jitsi room.
It's another chat. It's just the same as here, but you can be part of it. So
It's a
you are
video
invited.
chat, so you have to wear headphones and you need a mic, and it's all really, really funny every time.
And about
You're also invited, Steve, if you have the time, but I think you have to go to lunch.
I need some food.
yeah,
I have kids in the next room.
there's one thing I'd really like to have it to replace this one. There's just this space left in my life case. So
Okay, that's a
I
space
could
for
imagine
mainly 4,
being at
6,
yeah, there's what?
6 or 4 blue boxes will
I
fit
need-
in.
I think there will be yeah. I need 2, but maybe I can put in more than that.
I mean, in general, always buy at least one more than you think you need. You never know.
Not with me, normally.
Fine. Okay. If you like, visit on us on Instagram or on our forum. And I think we have to say goodbye.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Thank
thanks
you.
for having us. Happy to
Yeah.
come back and talk anytime.
Thank you
was a
for
pleasure.
being here, Steve.
So,
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
See you next week. Ciao.